is HFK Presents 5 Minutes of History, and I'm your host, Terry Lynch, wishing you a happy St. Nicholas Day. It's December 6th, the Feast of St. Nicholas. Last night, children all over the world put out shoes by their bedroom door, hoping that St. Nicholas would leave a present for them so they could wake up in the morning rewarded for all the good deeds they've been doing. I hope he was filling a lot of shoes last night. I'll have to check in with some of our friends from around the world who've been checking in with us. People in England, Poland, the Czech Republic, as well as Brooklyn, Los Angeles, and Chicago itself have all been looking at our blog spots, and I'm telling them right here and now, don't just look, write, and ask questions. That's how I get my next episodes. Speaking of episodes, it's time to tell you a little bit about this week's episode, which has to do with the Feast of St. Nicholas. You see, St. Nicholas had a feast day established for him, and it's December 6th, as I told you a few moments ago. People celebrate this in many different ways. Some people around the world put out those shoes, as I explained earlier. Yet others decide to have wonderful festivals. In the Middle Ages, these festivals became rather crazy at times. But now they're a little more subdued, shall I say. However, some traditions have existed in Europe and continue to this very day. It's a wonderful experience. People will spend weeks, maybe months, learning parts of St. Nicholas's life. Friends and neighbors will get together and they'll try and recreate stories from St. Nicholas's life. Like the story I told last week, where he saved the 3 daughters from being sold into slavery. There's other stories as well that people like to retell. What they do is they prepare, and on the Feast of St. Nicholas will go house to house recreating these stories, and hoping that they entertain their friends and neighbors. They'll expect a treat in return. They're called mummers' plays, and the performers are called mummers themselves. Some of the most favorite stories they love to tell about St. Nicholas always have to do with somebody dying or being brought back from the dead, because that's the best position to get, is the mummer who gets to die and then be reborn. They get to really overact. The more overacting, the better. It's highly enjoyable, and it's a fun way of remembering different traditions and stories of Bishop Nicholas, the Bishop of Myra, who's the saint whose feast we love to celebrate. It's a wonderful tradition that continues to this very day, and if you'd like to know more about it, you can find out in our book, Nicholas Comes to America, The Story of Santa Claus, where I tell of a mummer's play that's a rather traditional and very popular play to be told in parts of Europe, even to this very day. Yes. Speaking of days, oh, no, what time is it? Why, it's trivia time. That's what time it is. And today's trivia has to do with a wonderful flower called the poinsettia. It's a Christmas flower, and it was actually discovered by the first ambassador to Mexico from the United States. His name was Poinsett. And Poinsett brought back the poinsettia, named in his honor, back in 1825 from Mexico. In Mexico, they knew this as the flower of the Holy Night. Legend has it that a young girl wanted to visit the birth of Jesus, and she had no money to give him any presents. So, on her way, she gathered up weeds along the road, hoping she could give him a simple bouquet itself. As she reached towards the altar to give this present, it magically transformed into the lovely, fragrant poinsettias we see now these days. And how appropriate. They're red and green, the colors of Christmas. And that's the tradition of the lovely flower of the Holy Night. Do you hear that? It sounds like sleigh bells. It could be. It might be. It is. It's our town crier coming by on his sleigh. Horatio, merry, happy St. Nicholas Day to you. Horatio's got our trivia question for the week, and it comes from Carrie in Chicago. And Carrie asks, what is the significance of the candy cane? Well, Carrie, I'm glad you asked this, because it's a very appropriate question at this time of year, especially with it being the Feast of St. Nicholas, Bishop of Myra. The candy cane actually was a peppermint stick that candy makers used to give out to mummers as a treat after they had performed their play. But then they came up with an idea. Because it was the Feast of St. Nicholas, They took the end of that candy, that peppermint stick, and they turned it onto a bend, so it made a cane. More specifically, the candy cane was to represent the bishop's staff that St. Nicholas, Bishop of Myra, would carry. The staff is formally called a crozier. So they were giving a treat on the Feast of St. Nicholas and a symbol reminding you, I should say, of who we celebrate. Bishop Nicholas of Myra, St. Nicholas to the rest of us. Since then, people have carried on that tradition and have added to it as well. Because St. Nicholas is so well known for wanting to show honor and homage to Jesus, many people say, just turn the candy cane upside down, and it's a J for Jesus. Either way, as long as you understand there's more symbolism behind it than just a tasty treat, I'm sure St. Nicholas would be happy. I'm almost positive he would, as a matter of fact. Well, I've been going on and on and on, enjoying the festive season itself, but I'm realizing that we are, yes, possibly, yep, almost out of time here. And before we are out of time, we have to do something that's going to be a tradition all the way up until Christmas. We have to put the next day on our Advent calendar. Remember what our Advent calendar symbolizes? Remember the story? For those of you that don't remember, go back to the last episode. I explained the whole calendar. And today, considering it is December 6th, I shall take the ornament from the 6th and put it onto our Advent calendar tree. Ooh, one more day closer to Christmas. I can hardly wait. I'm getting so excited. I hope you are as well. Now, I know I've said it before, but I really mean it this time. I'm almost out of time. I've got to get going. But before I go, I want to give you a little tease for next week's episode. It's not all going to be about St. Nicholas next week. There's other saints that are involved with Advent and leading up to Christmas. And the saint we're going to focus on next week is a girl who wears candles in her hair. I'll also give you a little bit more on St. Nicholas. I can't throw him out completely, but until then, I want to remind you folks out there, dates are already booking up for 2011, so if you're interested in me for a holiday event or one of my historical figures, or perhaps to come out and give a speech as a keynote, or something new we're doing, staff appreciations and enrichment programs for corporations and even colleges and high schools as well. I can come out and do those and use our new book as a tie-in. Mistakes Happen, a historical guide to overcoming adversity, where I talk about the leaders that I portray and how they overcame adversity and inspire you to use those same tactics to get through all the rough and tumble times we're going through now these days. Any which way, remember, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to email us or call us. We can work with any size group or organization. That's what we do. I'm just not a guy hanging out having fun, dressing up as different people. We want to help other people excite themselves and motivate themselves as well. So you organizations, you colleges, you high schools, you grammar schools, you historical societies, you libraries, all of you out there, and you know who you are. Start contacting us now so you get the dates you want. Now, before I go, I have to tell you, those books I've talked about, the book on Santa Claus, Nicholas Comes to America, the story of Santa Claus, and Mistakes Happen, a historical guide to overcoming adversity. You don't have to come to one of my programs to get one of these books. No, you can get them on Amazon.com or our website, www.hfkpresents.com. So, until next time, this is Terry Lynch, your host of HFK Presents 5 Minutes of History, saying Happy St. Nicholas Day, and look out! History happens when you least expect it.